What's good, Ravens fans? We are back with another reaction of Dan Orlovsky on ESPN, giving Lamar Jackson some hot praise. Let's get into it.
Ceiling for Lamar and the Ravens this season.
Super Bowl and MVP. And probably the most talented and deep NFL.
Wait. We gotta pause for a second. Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Ravens
Why is she hating on us, dog? Molly, why are you hating on us? Yes, you heard him. Super Bowl, MVP. Again, a lot of people think the Ravens are the third best team in the AFC, the hardest conference. So Super Bowl for sure. And then MVP, he's won MVP already. Stop hating on Lamar. Stop hating on the Ravens, okay? You heard him. Super Bowl and MVP.
Say that, Super Bowl and MVP, so I just want to take a moment on that. Okay, carry on.
So the Ravens, Molly, I think this will be probably the deepest NFL season we've ever had. There's not a lot of bad teams, maybe 3 or 4 bad teams.
Yeah.
It's a very healthy league. The Ravens are my pick to come out of the AFC. And Lamar is my pick to win MVP. Lamar is going to go absolutely on a fire-blazing trail of the NFL this season.
So I will say this is the first time I've actually heard a person on like ESPN or NBC pick the Ravens to win it, the Super Bowl or win the AFC, and for Lamar Jackson to be MVP. I actually haven't even heard any Lamar Jackson MVP takes. So again, this is super refreshing, super new. Let's get the no more contract talk. Let's talk about the game, and this is what I'm here for. So
the things that have been said about this guy who has amassed 37 wins in his first 49 starts and incredible stats and obviously won the MVP. Couple reasons why. Number one, the health of his offensive line is back. I continuously remind people, last year through 12 weeks of the season, the young man we see on the screen was the MVP of the NFL, and they were the number 1 seed in the AFC with historical injuries that their team was dealing with.
So if you guys watch any of the content I put out, anytime they talk about Lamar Jackson, I always bring that up. Remember that we didn't have several important starters, and Lamar had us in first place in the AFC. Don't forget that. Don't forget that, because it shows that he can carry a team by himself, which he did. So that's important to always remind people who hating on us.
Offensive line is healthy. They're going to go back to what they did in 2019, and everyone raved or said, well, you got to throw the ball on the outside and down the field, blah, blah. That's who they are. That's who this organization is. They're going to go back to putting those 3 tight ends on the field, and they're going to go back to that incredibly creative run game and that pass game that people have no idea where tight ends are coming from one side of the field to the other. So that offense is going to be in complete control with a plethora of backs, Lamar running the show. And then this defense is going to be back to what this defense is. So
before he gets to the defense, I want to just comment on the offensive part. I think he gets it. He's tuned in here. So that's the thing that in Lamar's MVP season was impressive, was that he was doing all these things and orchestrating a offense that the league has never seen before. So the difference, there has to be something different, right? A tight end the caliber of Isaiah Likely is different, right? I believe in the MVP season, we didn't have Dobbins yet, if I remember correctly. That's something that is going to be different. And also, our number 1 receiver, Rashad Bateman, if he is who they think he is, he will add a new dynamic that we didn't have in the MVP season, and hopefully that'll be enough with Lamar's growth to take us over the edge. So now let's get into the defense.
Notoriously been. This is arguably the best defensive line in the AFC, arguably. Good linebacking core. They got 3 safeties that flat out play. This team, when healthy, is the most indefensible matchup problem that we have in the conference. They got a quarterback that is very hungry to go prove a lot of people wrong and a few people right. And I just believe that the Ravens are the team to beat in a conference that's absolutely loaded, and he's going to win MVP.
Wow, that was some powerful stuff there. Shout out to Dan Orlovsky for the comments, for the breakdown. Again, he's higher on the defensive line than I am, just because it's the pass rush component of it. But if he's saying what's true, if Lamar, again, I'm not worried about the offense, to be honest with you, because when Lamar's been in the game, the offense has always been 21 points or over. And most of the time it's been 26, 27 points, right? The only teams that we had trouble beating consistently was Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, right? Because we might get to 30 or we might get to 28, but they're getting to 35, right? So I'm not worried about the offense. The defense is the part that I'm a little bit worried about, and not because we're going to struggle, but what happens when you face a Patrick Mahomes, right? Our defense has been really good, not last year, but the years before that, until Patrick Mahomes came through the door, right? In some cases, until Derrick Henry came through the door, right? So when you face the great offensive threats in the league, what do, right? And again, the Bills, for example, last year, did everything perfectly, but they couldn't outscore Patrick Mahomes. They couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes, and that's what's going to be the task for us as well. So,
I'm looking at the Ravens defense. You got Calais Campbell that came over from Jacksonville. You got Justin Houston that came over from Indianapolis rather. You got Peters that came from LA. You look at their experience. I don't blame you one bit for how confident you appear to be in the Baltimore Ravens defense. Their culture, their system, their reputation, their tradition and history speaks to the fact that their defense is never going to be a slouch. I get that. Offensively, let me say this. Lamar Jackson ain't winning MVP. The Baltimore Ravens ain't winning the division crown. And they damn sure ain't going to the Super Bowl. Say that right now. Let's say that right now.
So I hope he tells us why, but let's see what he says.
Ain't gonna happen, okay? They're not beating Cincinnati for the division, I believe. Even though they were right there before they tailed off at the end of last season, I just don't believe they're winning the division. I don't think that they have the weapons necessary in the receiving spot for Lamar Jackson to excel as much as you think he's going to do. Now, he's got wheels that are unlike anything we haven't seen. Folks going to load the box against them, and what they're going to do is they're going to dare those wideouts to beat them in one-on-one situations. You ain't going to see too much double coverage as far as I'm concerned, because I don't think you have to with the weapons that he has available to them outside of Mark Andrews. And so for me, that's going to compromise them to some degree. Do I think he should be?
So again, I get what he's saying. Basically, he's putting a lot of value on the wide receiver spot, and that's fine, and that's dandy. The issue is that most teams don't have more than one person that has to be double teamed. Again, I would say that the Bengals have 1.5, right? Because T. Higgins is very good. And of course, Jamar Chase is world class. So you definitely have to double him. And then the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs, last couple of years, Kelsey and Tyreek put you in binds. And you have to pick your poison there. So of course, we don't have that. That's 100% true. We have Mark Andrews, that you can bracket Mark Andrews, right? And that's what a lot of teams have done in the playoffs. So I hear what he's saying. It comes down to, is Bateman or Isaiah Likely who we think they are? And if this running game is what we think it is. If this running game can be great, you take a lot of pressure off and you have those open one-on-one matchups. So, we'll see.
Be playing on the field without a new contract? Hell no. He should step foot out on the field in the regular season without a new contract. That's just me. Because I think that there's $200 million at stake, and I think he's had some injuries in his career, and I don't want him to ruin the opportunity to get the bag that's available to him. That's just my opinion. If it was me, I would not go out on the field if I had $200 million on the table until I signed for $200 million. I wouldn't be fixated on matching Deshaun Watson's $230 million. That wouldn't be my focus, the $230 million in guaranteed. But if I got, let's say, for example, if they gave me $205, $210, $220 million, I'm not going to sweat the fact that it's less than Deshaun Watson. I'm going to take the $200 million to make sure I got it available to me.
So, it always, okay. For some reason, it always comes back to this contract, and sure, fine, whatever. But Lamar Jackson, over his career, has more accolades than Deshaun Watson. So he should be paid more, right? And if you as Lamar, and that's the last time I'll hopefully speak about this. If you are Lamar and you know you're better, you know you have better credentials, you know your team has been better solely because of you. You didn't have a Hopkins, okay? You've never passed a receiver that great before, okay? And they're telling you need to take less money than this guy because that owner made a mistake. that's your problem, dog. That's not my problem. So again, shout out to Dan Orlovsky. He always shows love to quarterbacks, and he was right last year. He was giving Matt Stafford lots of love, and then now he's giving us lots of love. So hopefully we get this dub and become Super Bowl champions. I would love it. And again, if we do that, you'll see me at the Super Bowl. So thanks, guys, and go Ravens.